You know their stories. Albert Einstein, the Wright brothers, Susan B. Anthony. Their faces are practically carved into our collective memory. We celebrate their genius, their courage, their innovation. Their triumphs are etched in every history book and taught in every classroom. But what about the stories that were ripped out? The geniuses, activists, and trailblazers who were intentionally silenced. Your textbooks are missing pages, and today we're reading them aloud. These are the revolutionaries who fought battles you've never heard of, the inventors who helped build the world you live in, and the visionaries who were pushed into the shadows. This is the history that was deliberately forgotten. Until now. Our story begins not with Rosa Parks, but 9 months before her famous act of defiance. It starts with a 15-year-old girl named Claudette Colvin. On March 2, 1955, fresh from studying Black leaders like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth in school, Colvin was on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. When the driver ordered her to give up her seat to a white passenger, she refused. She later said it felt like Tubman and Truth were physically holding her in place. Claudette declared it was her constitutional right to be there, but she was arrested and dragged off the bus. Civil rights leaders were outraged and considered making her the face of a citywide boycott. But they hesitated. She was young, unmarried, and pregnant, and they worried that her personal life would be used by opponents to discredit the movement. So, 9 months later, the NAACP chose a different person for a similar protest, a poised, movement-trained woman named Rosa Parks. While Parks became an icon, Colvin's name was nearly erased. But her fight wasn't over. She was one of 4 brave plaintiffs in the landmark case Browder v. Gale, the lawsuit that ultimately declared bus segregation unconstitutional across the nation. You know the "I have a dream" speech. You've seen the images of 250,000 people gathered at the Lincoln Memorial. But do you know the man who organized it all? His name was Bayard Rustin, the logistical genius behind the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Known as Mr. March on Washington, Rustin handled every detail, from training parade marshals to making sure there were enough portable toilets for the massive crowd. A brilliant strategist and devout pacifist, Rustin was a core advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. and the man who taught him the principles of nonviolent resistance. He was pushed into the background because he was a gay man in an era when that was not just taboo, but dangerous. Political enemies used his sexuality to attack him and the movement, with one senator denouncing him on the Senate floor. Fearing controversy, many civil rights leaders kept him out of the spotlight. For decades, the man who organized one of the most iconic protests in American history remains a footnote. It wasn't until 2013 that President Barack Obama posthumously awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Long before self-made was a hashtag, there was Madam C.J. Walker. Born Sarah Breedlove in 1867 to parents who had been enslaved, her early life was marked by hardship. Orphaned at 7, married at 14 to escape abuse, and widowed by 20 with a daughter to support. She worked as a laundress for barely $1 a day. When she began losing her hair due to a scalp condition, she turned personal struggle into innovation. She developed a line of hair care products designed specifically for Black women and renamed herself Madam C.J. Walker. Traveling the country, she built a powerful sales network and founded the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company, including a factory in Indianapolis. By the time of her death in 1919, her estate was worth millions in today's dollars, making her the first self-made female millionaire in America. She used her wealth to uplift others through philanthropy and activism. In the mid-1800s, medicine was dominated by white men. In 1864, Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumler shattered that reality by becoming the first Black woman in America to earn a medical degree. Inspired by an aunt who cared for the sick, she pursued medicine to relieve suffering wherever she found it. After the Civil War, she moved to Virginia to treat formerly enslaved people who had no access to medical care. Despite facing constant racism and sexism from male doctors who dismissed her work, she persisted. In 1883, she published a book of medical discourses, one of the first medical texts written by an African American. For more than a century, her grave went unmarked, a quiet reminder of how easily pioneers can be forgotten. Thomas Edison is credited with inventing the light bulb, but without Lewis Latimer, it would never have lit the world. The son of formerly enslaved parents, Latimer was a self-taught draftsman who helped create the patent drawings for Alexander Graham Bell's telephone. Latimer's key contribution was inventing a durable carbon filament that allowed light bulbs to last long enough to be practical and affordable. His work made electric lighting viable for homes and cities. Eventually, even Edison hired him. Latimer went on to supervise lighting installations in cities like New York and London. While Edison took the credit, Latimer made the glow. Garrett Morgan, the son of formerly enslaved people, only had a sixth-grade education but an extraordinary mechanical mind. In 1914, he patented an early gas mask. In 1916, after a deadly tunnel explosion beneath Lake Erie, Morgan used his invention to rescue trapped workers when others could not. Despite saving lives, some cities canceled his order for his device once they learned he was black. Undeterred, Morgan later invented the three-position traffic signal after witnessing a serious accident. His design added a caution phase, forming the basis of modern traffic lights used worldwide today. In the 1930s, mob boss Lucky Luciano seemed untouchable. The person who cracked the case wasn't a famous detective, but Eunice Hunton Carter, the first black female assistant district attorney in New York City. She noticed a pattern of mob-connected lawyers representing women arrested for prostitution and uncovered a massive organized crime operation. Her investigation proved Luciano was running a compulsory prostitution racket. Her evidence formed the backbone of the prosecution that sent him to prison in the largest mob takedown of its time. In a system stacked against her, Carter brought down a kingpin. Before Serena Williams and Simone Biles, there was Alice Coachman. Growing up in segregated Georgia, she trained without access to proper facilities, practicing barefoot and using improvised equipment. The cancellation of the 1940 and 1944 Olympics robbed her of early chances to compete. In 1948, she finally got her moment. Alice Coachman won gold in the high jump, becoming the first black woman to win an Olympic gold medal and the only American woman to win gold at those Olympics. Her victory opened doors for generations of athletes to come. Gordon Parks believed a camera could be a weapon. Born into poverty and segregation, he taught himself photography and became the first black staff photographer for Life magazine in 1948. His images exposed the daily realities of racism and inequality to a nation that often refused to see them. Parks documented black life with honesty and humanity, then broke barriers again as one of the first black Hollywood directors with the film Shaft. Through photography and film, he reshaped how America saw itself. History often celebrates charismatic leaders, but movements are built by organizers. Ella Baker was the engine behind much of the civil rights movement's success. She worked with the NAACP, helped found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and believed deeply in grassroots leadership. Her greatest legacy came through empowering young people. She helped form the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and insisted students lead it themselves. SNCC became one of the fearless forces of the civil rights era. Ella Baker proved that real power comes from collective action, not a single voice. Claudette Colvin, Bayard Rustin, Rebecca Lee Crumbler. These are just 10 of the countless names scrubbed from history books. Their stories remind us that history isn't fixed, it's chosen. And the real question is, who gets to choose what's remembered? Their legacies live on in our laws, our cities, our movements, and our everyday lives. It's our responsibility to tell these stories, to say their names, and to put the missing pages back where they belong. Which forgotten heroes should the world know about next? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe these stories matter, subscribe and share. Let's rewrite history together.